Dr. Elena Vasquez stood on the deck of the research vessel Deep Explorer, watching the submersible disappear into the dark waters of the Mariana Trench. The morning sun cast long shadows across the Pacific, but Elena's mind was focused on what lay 11 kilometers below the surface. Her team had been studying unusual rock formations on the ocean floor for 3 months, but yesterday's sonar readings showed something that made no geological sense. Depth at 9,000 meters and descending, came the voice of pilot Marcus Rivera through the communication system. The submersible Hadean was one of only 5 vessels capable of reaching the deepest parts of Earth's oceans. Elena pressed her headphones closer to her ears, not wanting to miss a single word. Dr. James Chen, the team's linguist and archaeologist, stood beside her with a tablet full of technical readings. "The formations are definitely artificial," he said, adjusting his glasses. "The angles are too precise and the material composition doesn't match anything in the surrounding area." Elena nodded, though her attention remained fixed on the video feed from the submersible. The images showed a barren landscape of mud and rock, lit only by the powerful lights of the underwater vehicle. Then, as they descended further, something extraordinary came into view. "What in the world is that?" Marcus's voice carried a note of amazement. The lights illuminated what could only be described as a structure. It rose from the ocean floor like an ancient temple, but its design was unlike anything from human civilization. Smooth, curved walls seemed to flow together in impossible ways, and the entire building appeared to be made from a single piece of dark, crystalline material. "Marcus, can you get closer to that wall section?" Elena spoke into her microphone, her heart racing with excitement. As the submersible moved nearer, the team could see intricate patterns carved into the crystal surface. The designs were geometric but organic, like mathematical equations written in living language. Dr. Chen leaned forward, his eyes wide with fascination. "Those aren't decorative," he whispered. "Those are symbols. Text of some kind." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. "Marcus, we need samples. Can you use the mechanical arm to break off a piece?" The next hour was tense as Marcus carefully maneuvered the submersible's equipment to extract a section of the crystalline wall. The material was incredibly hard, requiring diamond-tipped tools to make even the smallest cut. When they finally succeeded in removing a tablet-sized piece, Elena let out a breath she didn't realize she had been holding. Back on the surface, the team worked feverishly to analyze their discovery. The crystal tablet was unlike any known mineral. It seemed to absorb and reflect light in strange ways, and instruments showed it contained elements that shouldn't exist in nature. But it was Dr. Chen who made the most shocking discovery. "Elena, you need to see this," he called from his workstation. The tablet lay under a powerful microscope, its surface magnified to show incredible detail. "These symbols, I recognize some of them." Elena hurried over, followed by the rest of the team. On the screen they could see the intricate carvings up close. The symbols were clearly organized in rows and columns like sentences in a book. "This section here," Dr. Chen pointed to a series of curved marks. "These are numbers. I'm certain of it. And this," he moved to another area. "This looks like a warning symbol. You see it in many ancient cultures." Over the next week, Dr. Chen worked day and night to decode the message. He compared the symbols to every known ancient language, used computer programs to analyze patterns, and consulted with experts around the world. The breakthrough came when he realized the text wasn't written in one language, but several. "It's like the Rosetta Stone," he explained to Elena as they sat in the ship's laboratory. "The same message is repeated in different languages. I can identify at least 5 distinct writing systems here." Elena felt her excitement growing. "What does it say?" Dr. Chen's face grew serious. "That's the strange part. The message is very short but very clear. It says, 'We failed.' They guard something worse. Do not wake what sleeps beneath." Elena stared at the translation, feeling confused. "That's it? We failed? Who failed? What are they guarding?" "I don't know," Dr. Chen admitted. "But Elena, there's something else. I've been running tests on the crystal itself, trying to date it. And this tablet is over 2 million years old." The laboratory fell silent. Elena felt the world shift around her. 2 million years ago, humans didn't even exist. The most advanced life on Earth were early mammals. "That's impossible," she said finally. "That's what I thought too. I ran the test 5 times. Same result every time." Dr. Chen pulled up more data on his computer. "But wait, it gets stranger. I've been comparing these symbols to historical records and I found something disturbing. 3 of these writing systems have been seen before. Elena leaned closer to the screen. Where? One was found carved into rocks in the Sahara Desert in 1923. The expedition thought it was just tribal art. Another was discovered in caves in Peru in 1954, and the third was photographed at an archaeological site in Turkey before it was destroyed by an earthquake. But how is that possible? These civilizations never had contact with each other. Exactly. And Elena, I checked the records from those expeditions. They all found the same message. Word for word. We failed. They guard something worse. Do not wake what sleeps beneath. Elena sat down heavily in her chair. Her mind was racing, trying to process what Dr. Chen was telling her. So you're saying this message has been found before? In different places, different times? Not just found. I did more research. This exact warning has been discovered at 17 different archaeological sites around the world. Every single one was dated to a different time period, some millions of years apart, and every single one contains the same message. Elena looked back at the crystal tablet, feeling a growing sense of unease. James, what if this isn't a hoax? What if something really did exist here millions of years ago? Multiple somethings? Dr. Chen nodded slowly. That's what I'm afraid of. Elena, I think we've stumbled onto evidence of multiple extinct civilizations, and they all left the same final message. The implications were staggering. If Dr. Chen was right, then Earth had been home to advanced civilizations long before humans evolved. And every single one of them had felt compelled to leave the same desperate warning. We need to go back down there, Elena said finally. We need to find more evidence. Elena, what if the warning is real? What if there really is something down there that we shouldn't disturb? Elena looked out at the ocean, thinking about the strange structure they had found. Then we need to know what it is. Humanity deserves to know the truth about what came before us. As the sun set over the Pacific, Elena began planning their return to the depths. She had no idea that their discovery would change everything humans thought they knew about Earth, or that they were about to uncover a truth that 23 extinct civilizations had died trying to protect. The crystal tablet lay on the laboratory table, its surface seeming to pulse with its own inner light, and deep below, in the crushing darkness of the ocean floor, something ancient stirred in response to the first human contact it had felt in millions of years. 6 months had passed since the discovery in the Mariana Trench, and Elena's small research team had grown into an international operation. The Deep Explorer now shared the ocean with 5 other research vessels, and scientists from 12 countries had joined the project. What they had found changed everything. Dr. Sarah Kim, a geologist from Seoul National University, stood in the main laboratory reviewing the latest findings. Charts and maps covered every available wall space, marked with red dots that showed the locations of similar crystal tablets found around the world. There were now 47 confirmed sites. The pattern is undeniable, Dr. Kim said to Elena, as they examined a 3-dimensional map of the discovery sites. Every tablet has been found at exactly the same depth underground or underwater. Every single one. Elena studied the map, noting how the red dots seemed to form a geometric pattern across the Earth's surface. It's like they were placed deliberately. But by who? Dr. Chen approached with a thick folder full of translations. His hair had grown longer and grayer over the past months, and his eyes showed the strain of working around the clock. I've finished translating all 47 tablets. Elena, they're not just the same message. They're the exact same message written by 23 different civilizations. 23? Elena felt her stomach drop. You're certain? Completely certain. Each civilization has a distinct writing style, different mathematical systems, even different ways of organizing information. But the warning is identical across all of them. Dr. Chen pulled out a chart showing the different writing systems side by side. Look at this. We have civilizations separated by millions of years, yet they all left the same final message. General Harrison, the military advisor assigned to the project, joined their discussion. He was a tall man with sharp eyes who rarely spoke unless he had something important to say. Dr. Vasquez, my superiors are getting nervous about this project. The public is starting to ask questions about all the military vessels in international waters. Elena sighed. General, we can't stop now. We're on the verge of the greatest archaeological discovery in human history. That's exactly what worries them. General Harrison replied. Discovery of what? Multiple extinct civilizations is one thing, but this warning they all left behind. They guard something worse. What are they guarding? Dr. Kim pulled up seismic data on her computer. We might have an answer to that. The deep Earth scanning equipment we installed last month has detected something unusual. Elena moved closer to the screen. The image showed a cross-section of the Earth, with the familiar layers of crust, mantle, and core. But there was something else, something that shouldn't exist. What am I looking at, Sarah? Structures. Massive underground structures positioned at key points around the globe. They're enormous, Elena. Some of them are the size of mountains buried kilometers beneath the surface. General Harrison leaned in. How is that possible? Our geological surveys would have detected something that large. Not necessarily, Dr. Kim explained. These structures seem to be made from the same crystalline material as the tablets. It doesn't show up on normal scans because it appears to absorb most forms of energy we direct at it. We only found them by accident when testing new deep penetration sonar. Elena felt a chill as she studied the data. How many structures? 47. One directly below each tablet location. The laboratory fell silent as the implications sank in. Elena looked at the map again, seeing it with new understanding. The tablets weren't random warnings left by extinct civilizations. They were markers placed above something deliberately hidden. Dr. Chen cleared his throat. There's more. I've been analyzing the geological data from each tablet site, comparing it to historical records. Every location shows signs of massive excavation in the distant past, followed by deliberate refilling and concealment. You mean these civilizations dug down to these structures? Elena asked. It appears so. And Elena, the excavation dates match the extinction dates for each civilization. They dug down, found something, and then they disappeared. General Harrison's expression darkened. All of them? Every single civilization that found these structures went extinct? Everyone, Dr. Chen confirmed. Within decades of reaching the structures. Elena walked to the window, looking out at the ocean where it all began. But if they all died, how did they leave the warnings? That's been bothering me too, Dr. Chen said. Until I found this. He held up a different crystal tablet, smaller than the others and covered in different symbols. This one was buried with the original tablet in the Mariana Trench. I finished translating it yesterday. What does it say? Dr. Chen's voice was barely above a whisper. It's not a warning. It's instructions. It tells how to properly seal and monitor the structures. It's like a maintenance manual. Dr. Kim looked up from her computer screen, her face pale. Elena, you need to see this. The seismic monitoring equipment has been detecting unusual activity. Elena hurried back to the computer. The screen showed wave patterns and energy readings from the past week. What am I looking at? The structures are active. They're producing energy signatures and the activity is increasing. Dr. Kim pointed to a series of spikes on the graph. It started small, but it's been growing stronger every day since we began the deep scans. General Harrison stepped forward. Are you saying these things are responding to our investigation? It looks that way. In general, there's something else. The energy patterns are synchronized. All 47 structures are producing the same pattern at the same time. Elena felt the pieces falling into place in her mind. They're not separate structures. They're part of a single system. A system that's been dormant for millions of years, Dr. Chen added. Until we started poking around. Dr. Kim pulled up another screen showing deeper scanning results. Elena, we've detected something else. Much deeper. The image showed the familiar outline of Earth's core, but with an additional feature that made Elena's blood run cold. Centered in the planet's core was a spherical anomaly. Perfectly round and completely unlike anything in normal planetary geology. What is that? Elena asked. We don't know. It's approximately 6,000 kilometers down, right at the boundary between the outer and inner core. It's producing its own energy signature, something we've never seen before. General Harrison studied the image. How big is it? About the size of the moon, Dr. Kim said quietly. Elena stared at the screen, trying to process what she was seeing. A moon-sized object buried in Earth's core, surrounded by a network of ancient guardians left by extinct civilizations, all warning about something worse. Sarah, is this thing natural? Elena asked. Nothing about it appears natural. The energy signature is unlike anything in known physics. And Elena, it's growing. Growing how? Dr. Kim showed them time-lapse data from the past month. The anomaly was smaller when we first detected it. It's been expanding slowly but steadily. At the current rate, it will reach the edge of the core in approximately 50 years. Elena felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. And what happens when it reaches the edge? We don't know, Dr. Kim admitted. But based on the warnings left by 23 extinct civilizations, I don't think we want to find out. General Harrison was already reaching for his communication device. I need to contact my superiors immediately. This has moved beyond archaeological discovery. As the general stepped away to make his call, Elena looked at her team. Dr. Chen with his ancient warnings, Dr. Kim with her impossible geological data, and dozens of other scientists who had dedicated their lives to uncovering the truth about humanity's place in the universe. James, in your translation work, did any of the civilizations explain what this thing is? Dr. Chen shook his head. They all call it different names, but the meaning is always the same. The hunger, the void, the end of things. Whatever it is, every civilization that encountered it was terrified. Elena walked back to the original crystal tablet from the Mariana Trench. The surface seemed to pulse with inner light, and she wondered if it was responding to their growing understanding of its true purpose. James, what were the Guardians? The warnings mention they guard something worse. From what I can piece together, the Guardians are the structures we detected, some kind of containment system built by multiple civilizations working together. But if they built the Guardians to contain this thing, why did all the civilizations go extinct? Dr. Chen looked at the data surrounding them, the evidence of 23 failed attempts to protect Earth from an unknown threat. Maybe building the Guardians wasn't enough. Maybe it required a greater sacrifice. As if in response to their conversation, Dr. Kim's monitoring equipment began to beep urgently. Elena, we're getting massive energy spikes from all the structures. Something is happening. Elena looked at the readings, watching as the underground Guardians that had slept for millions of years began to wake up. Humanity had found the ancient warnings, uncovered the buried truth, and now they were about to discover whether they were wise enough to heed the desperate messages left by those who came before. The crystal tablet pulsed brighter, and deep beneath the earth, something that had been waiting for eons turned its attention toward the surface world for the first time in millions of years. The first Guardian emerged from the Pacific Ocean at 3:47 a.m. Tokyo time. Elena was asleep in her quarters aboard the Deep Explorer when the emergency alarms began wailing throughout the ship. She rushed to the bridge, still in her nightclothes, to find chaos. Captain Rodriguez was shouting orders to his crew while Dr. Kim frantically worked at her monitoring station. Through the bridge windows, Elena could see something impossible rising from the ocean depths about 20 kilometers away. Status report, Elena called out over the noise. The seismic readings went off the charts 15 minutes ago, Dr. Kim said, her voice shaking. Then this thing started coming up. Elena looked out at the ocean and felt her breath catch in her throat. What was emerging from the water was not a machine in any sense she understood. It was massive, easily the size of a mountain, but it moved with fluid grace that seemed almost alive. Its surface was the same dark crystal as the tablets, but covered with intricate patterns that pulsed with blue-white light. Is it one of the Guardian structures? Elena asked. It has to be, Dr. Kim replied. The energy signature matches perfectly. But Elena, look at this. She pointed to her screen, which showed a global map dotted with red warning indicators. It's not just this one. Guardian structures are awakening all over the world. Elena felt cold dread settling in her stomach. How many? 7 so far. 1 in the Pacific, 1 in the Atlantic. 2 in the Indian Ocean, 1 in the Mediterranean, 1 under the Antarctic ice sheet, and 1 that just broke through the ground in the Sahara Desert. Captain Rodriguez handed Elena a radio. Dr. Vasquez, I'm getting emergency broadcasts from around the world. The governments are in panic. They want to know what you people have done. Elena took the radio with trembling hands. This is Dr. Elena Vasquez aboard the research vessel Deep Explorer. Please identify yourself. Dr. Vasquez, this is Admiral Sarah Chang, United States Pacific Fleet. We have a situation here. One of your Guardian things just rose out of the ocean near Hawaii. It's the size of a city and it's heading for the mainland. What the hell did you wake up? Elena looked out at the Guardian moving slowly but steadily through the water. Its movement created massive waves that rocked their ship like a toy. Admiral, we don't know. We're trying to understand what's happening. Well, you better understand it fast. The president is considering nuclear options. No, Elena shouted into the radio. Admiral, you can't attack it. These things were built to protect Earth. The ancient civilizations left warnings specifically about this. Protect Earth from what? Elena hesitated, looking at the global map showing 7 ancient guardians awakening simultaneously. From something worse. Over the next 12 hours, Elena's team worked frantically to understand what was happening. The guardians had positioned themselves at strategic points around the globe, but they showed no signs of aggression. They simply moved to their positions and stopped, their crystalline surfaces pulsing with that strange blue light. Dr. Chen had locked himself in the laboratory, working to decode more of the ancient texts they had discovered. When he finally emerged, his face was pale and his hands were shaking. Elena, I found something in the maintenance instructions. The Guardians aren't just containment. They're a living system. What do you mean, living? The ancient texts describe them as partly biological. They're powered by some kind of consciousness transfer technology. When a civilization realized the Guardians were failing, Dr. Chen paused, looking sick. They transferred their consciousness into the Guardian network to power it. Elena felt the room spinning around her. You mean the Guardians are alive? They contain the minds of extinct civilizations, not just alive. Elena, they're in pain. The texts describe it as an eternal vigil, a conscious sacrifice to keep something contained. Every civilization that found these structures had to make the same choice. Let Earth be destroyed or join the Guardian network forever. Dr. Kim looked up from her monitoring station. Elena, the deep core readings are getting worse. That anomaly is expanding faster now, and there's something else. Elena moved to Dr. Kim's station, dreading what she would see. The screen showed the spherical anomaly in Earth's core, but it was no longer perfectly round. Tendrils of dark energy were reaching out from its surface, probing toward the planet's upper layers. What are those tendrils? Unknown energy. But wherever they touch, the rock and metal changes. It becomes something else, something that doesn't follow normal physics. Elena watched in horror as the tendrils slowly pushed upward through the Earth's layers. How long until they reach the surface? At the current rate of expansion, maybe 6 months. Dr. Chen joined them at the monitoring station. Elena, I think I understand what's happening. The Guardians have been containing this thing for millions of years, but our deep scans and excavations have weakened the containment field. The thing in the core is breaking free, and the Guardians are responding by activating their defense systems, Elena concluded. Exactly, but Elena, there's more. I found records of what happened to the last civilization that tried to fight the Guardians instead of joining them. Elena looked at Dr. Chen's worried face. What happened? Complete extinction within 3 years. The texts say they chose war over sacrifice and brought the hunger to the surface world. Elena walked to the window, looking out at the Guardian floating in the distance. Up close, she could see that its surface was not smooth crystal, but covered in intricate biological-looking structures. It pulsed with life, and she realized with growing certainty that Dr. Chen was right. The Guardian was alive, and it was watching them. Dr. Vasquez, Captain Rodriguez called from his communication station. I'm receiving a transmission from the Guardian. Some kind of signal directed at our ship. Elena hurried over. What kind of signal? It's not radio or any known communication method. It's going directly into our computer systems. Dr. Kim checked her instruments. Elena, the signal is some kind of complex mathematical sequence. It's too organized to be natural. Dr. Chen grabbed his translation materials. Can you convert it to visual patterns? If it's a language, I might be able to decode it. For the next hour, the team worked to understand the signal from the Guardian. Slowly, a pattern emerged. The mathematical sequences formed symbols, and the symbols formed words in multiple ancient languages. I've got something, Dr. Chen said finally. It's a message, but it's not in any single language. It's using elements from all 23 extinct civilizations. What does it say? Dr. Chen's voice was barely a whisper. It says, Children of Earth, we are your predecessors. We guard the hunger. It wakes because you probe too deep. Choose. Join the vigil or repeat our failures. Elena felt the weight of millions of years pressing down on her. They're offering us the same choice they faced. Elena, Dr. Kim called urgently. I'm detecting massive energy spikes from the core anomaly. Something big is happening. The screen showed the spherical object in Earth's core suddenly expanding outward, its dark tendrils reaching higher into the planet's layers. The Guardian network responded immediately. their blue lights brightening to almost blinding intensity. "Elena, look at this," Dr. Chen said, monitoring the Guardians' communications. "They're coordinating. All 7 Guardians are working together to reinforce the containment field." Through the bridge windows, Elena could see the Guardian's surface changing. New structures were growing from its crystalline hull, reaching toward the ocean floor. Similar reports came in from around the world as all 7 Guardians began extending root-like connections deep into the Earth. "They're trying to repair the containment system," Elena realized. "But they need more power." "Elena," Dr. Kim said quietly, "the energy requirements for containing something that size, it would take the combined life force of an entire civilization." Elena understood now why the ancient warnings had been so desperate. Every advanced species that reached this point faced the same impossible choice: sacrifice themselves to power the Guardian network, or watch as something unimaginably dangerous broke free from Earth's core. "Dr. Vasquez," the radio crackled with Admiral Chang's voice, "the Guardian near Hawaii is sending out some kind of energy beam. It's scanning the population centers. We need to know if this is an attack." Elena looked out at their Guardian, watching as it extended similar scanning beams across the ocean surface. "Admiral, I don't think it's an attack. I think it's looking for volunteers." "Volunteers for what?" Elena closed her eyes, thinking about the 23 civilizations that had faced this same moment. To join the eternal vigil, to become part of the defense system that keeps something much worse from escaping. "Dr. Vasquez, you're not making sense." Elena opened her eyes and looked at her team. Dr. Chen with his ancient knowledge, Dr. Kim with her impossible readings, Captain Rodriguez trying to keep them all safe. All of them brilliant humans who had spent their lives seeking knowledge, never realizing they would find a burden too heavy for any single species to bear alone. "Admiral,
I need to speak with world leaders immediately."
Humanity is about to face the same choice that destroyed every other intelligent species on Earth, and we have very little time to make the right decision." As if responding to her words, the Guardian's scanning beam swept across their ship. Elena felt a strange tingling sensation, as if something vast and ancient was looking directly into the United Nations Emergency Assembly, convened in New York 48 hours after the Guardians first emerged. Elena stood before representatives from every nation on Earth, feeling the weight of humanity's future on her shoulders. Behind her, massive screens showed real-time footage of the 7 Guardians stationed around the globe, their crystalline forms pulsing with increasingly urgent light patterns. "Ladies and gentlemen," Elena began, her voice carrying across the silent assembly hall.
3 days ago, humanity learned that we are not the first intelligent species to inhabit Earth. We are the 24th.
And like the 23 civilizations before us, we now face a choice that will determine whether our species survives or joins the ranks of the extinct. President Martinez of Argentina leaned forward in his seat. "Dr. Vasquez, you're asking us to believe that these creatures want us to sacrifice human consciousness to power some kind of prison? That's insane." President Martinez, with respect, insanity is ignoring the evidence. "In the past 72 hours, we've decoded complete historical records from the Guardian network. Every previous civilization faced the exact same crisis we're facing now." Elena gestured to the screens, which now showed Dr. Chen's translations of the ancient texts. "The entity contained in Earth's core isn't from our dimension. It's what the texts call a consciousness predator, something that feeds on intelligent thought itself. When it broke into our reality millions of years ago, it began consuming entire species." General Harrison stepped up to a microphone. "Dr. Vasquez, my intelligence analysts have confirmed her findings. The entity in Earth's core is expanding its influence. We're detecting psychological anomalies in populations near the Guardian sites. Increased aggression, paranoia, and violent behavior." Prime Minister Chen of Singapore raised her hand. "Are you saying this thing can control human minds?" "Not control," Elena replied. "Influence. It feeds on consciousness, but it also corrupts it. The stronger it becomes, the more it can manipulate intelligent beings into acting against their own interests." Dr. Kim's voice came through the communication system from the research vessel. "Elena, we're seeing massive spikes in the core readings. The entity is responding to the global attention. It knows we're talking about it." Elena felt a chill as she realized the implications. "Ladies and gentlemen, the entity gains power from being observed and discussed by intelligent minds. The more we focus on it, the stronger it becomes." President Williams of the United States stood up. Dr. Vasquez, you're asking us to trust alien technology over human ingenuity. Why can't we find another solution? Why can't we fight this thing? Elena had been dreading this question, but she had prepared for it. President William's 23 civilizations tried to fight it. Some were more advanced than we are. They all failed, and their failures made the entity stronger. She gestured to the screens, which now showed footage from the Guardian near Hawaii. The massive crystalline structure was extending thousands of root-like connections deep into the ocean floor, drawing energy from the Earth itself. The Guardians aren't just prisons. They're a life support system for the consciousnesses of every species that chose to join the vigil. Right now, millions of intelligent beings from across history are actively working to keep this entity contained. Dr. Chen's voice came through the speakers. Elena, I finished translating the final set of records. You need to hear this. Go ahead, James. The entity isn't just imprisoned in Earth's core. It's been slowly growing stronger by feeding on the psychic energy of every intelligent species that evolves on the surface. We're not just its prisoners. We're its food source. The assembly hall erupted in shocked murmurs and urgent conversations. Elena waited for quiet before continuing. The Guardian Network has been protecting us without our knowledge for our entire evolutionary history, but our deep scanning technology and excavations have weakened the containment field. The entity is now strong enough to actively influence surface minds. Secretary General Kofi leaned into his microphone. Dr. Vasquez, what exactly are the Guardians proposing? Elena took a deep breath, knowing her next words would change everything. They're offering to merge human consciousness with the Guardian Network. We would become part of the collective intelligence that maintains the containment system. Our bodies would die, but our minds would live forever as protectors of Earth. All of humanity? President Martinez asked, his voice shaking. No, the network only needs a certain percentage of our population to maintain the containment field. Based on their calculations, approximately 30% of human consciousness would need to join the vigil. The hall erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted over each other, some demanding military action against the Guardians, others calling for immediate acceptance of the proposal. Helena watched as the very discussion began to tear apart international cooperation. Order! Order! Secretary General Kofi called. Dr. Vasquez, how do we know the Guardians are telling the truth? How do we know this isn't some kind of invasion disguised as protection? Elena had anticipated this question as well. Because they've already had millions of years to take over Earth if that was their goal. The Guardian Network predates human civilization by geological ages. If they wanted to harm us, they wouldn't need our permission. General Harrison received an urgent message through his earpiece. His face went pale as he listened. Dr. Vasquez, we have a problem. Military units near the Guardian sites are reporting massive equipment failures. Every weapon system within 50 kilometers of a Guardian has stopped functioning. Elena felt her heart sink. General, the Guardians are trying to prevent us from making the same mistake as the previous civilizations. They're disarming us to stop us from attacking them. Or they're preparing to attack us, President Williams countered. Dr. Kim's voice crackled through the speakers with increasing urgency. Elena, the core readings are spiking again. The entity is expanding faster. And Elena, we're detecting something else. What is it, Sarah? Mass psychological effects. Hospitals around the world are reporting increased admissions for violence and psychotic behavior. The entity's influence is reaching the surface. Elena looked out at the assembly, seeing fear and confusion in every face. The representatives were beginning to argue more aggressively, their voices rising with unmistakable hostility. The entity was already working on them, feeding on their fear and turning it into anger. Ladies and gentlemen, Elena called out, but her voice was drowned out by increasingly heated arguments. Secretary General Kofi pounded his gavel repeatedly. Order, we need order. Elena realized with growing horror that the assembly was beginning to dissolve into chaos. Representatives were standing and shouting, some making threatening gestures toward others. The entity's corruption was working faster than anyone had anticipated. Elena, Dr. Chen's voice cut through the noise. I'm reading the final Guardian message now. It says, the corruption spreads. Decide quickly or lose the capacity to choose. Elena looked at the screens showing the Guardians around the world. Their blue lights were pulsing faster now, and she could see new structures growing from their surfaces. They were preparing for something. Sarah, what's happening with the containment field? It's failing, Elena. The entity is pushing harder against the barriers. The Guardians are drawing maximum power from the network, but it's not enough. They need fresh consciousness to reinforce the system. Elena realized they were out of time. The debate that should have taken weeks or months to resolve had to be decided in minutes. Around the assembly hall, representatives were beginning to physically confront each other as the entity's influence grew stronger. "General Harrison," Elena called out, "can you contact the Guardian Network directly?" "What are you thinking, Dr. Vasquez?" Elena looked at the chaos around her, seeing humanity's greatest leaders reduced to arguing animals by an entity that viewed consciousness itself as food. The choice was becoming clearer with every passing moment. "I'm thinking that someone needs to volunteer before we lose the ability to make rational decisions at all." General Harrison's radio crackled to life. "Dr. Vasquez, this is Admiral Chang. The Guardian near Hawaii is sending out a new signal. It's beautiful. It's like music, but made of light and mathematics." Elena closed her eyes, feeling the weight of the decision settling on her shoulders. Around her, the assembly descended further into chaos as the entity's corruption spread through the most powerful minds on Earth. The Guardians were offering salvation, but at a price that no previous civilization had been willing to pay until it was too late. Elena opened her eyes and looked at the screens showing the 7 ancient protectors, knowing that humanity's time for debate had run out. The choice was no longer whether to join the Guardian Network. The choice was whether to join it voluntarily, or wait until the entity's corruption made them incapable of choice at all. And Elena Vasquez, standing before the collapsing assembly of human leadership, realized that she might be the only person left with enough clarity of mind to make that choice for all of humanity. Elena stood in the chaos of the UN assembly, watching humanity's leaders tear each other apart under the entity's growing influence. The decision could wait no longer. She pulled out her communication device and contacted the Deep Explorer. "Sarah, James, can you hear me?" "Elena, thank God." Dr. Kim's voice crackled through the speaker. "The situation here is getting worse. The Guardian is moving closer to our ship. Sarah, I need you to establish direct communication with the Guardian Network. Now." "Elena, what are you planning?" Elena looked around the assembly hall, where security forces were now trying to separate fighting representatives. The entity's corruption was spreading faster than anyone had predicted. "I'm going to volunteer." "Elena, no." Dr. Chen's voice cut through the static. "We don't know what the process involves. You could be walking into a trap." "James, look around. Humanity is destroying itself right now because we're too afraid to make the hard choice. Someone has to go first." Elena left the assembly hall and made her way to the roof of the UN building. From there, she could see smoke rising from various parts of New York City as civil order began to break down. The entity's influence was spreading beyond the government officials to the general population. "Elena," Dr. Kim's voice came through her earpiece. "I've established contact with the Guardian Network. They're responding to your request." "What are they saying?" They're showing me something." "Elena, I'm going to patch the signal through to your device." Elena's communication device began to glow with the same blue light as the Guardians. Then, suddenly, she was no longer standing on the roof of the UN building. She found herself in a vast space filled with swirling lights and complex geometric patterns. Around her, she could sense the presence of countless minds, the consciousnesses of 23 extinct civilizations, all united in their eternal vigil. "Welcome, child of the 24th species." The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, a chorus of billions of minds speaking as one. "We have watched your people grow from primitive mammals to builders of cities. We have protected you from the hunger while you learned to think and dream." Elena felt tears streaming down her face as she experienced the overwhelming love and sacrifice of the Guardian Network. "Why didn't you tell us sooner?" "Because knowledge of the hunger feeds it. Your species needed to evolve naturally, without the corruption that comes from knowing about the predator too early. But now the time of innocence is over." Elena saw images flowing around her, the history of Earth's many civilizations, their discoveries, their attempts to fight the entity, and their ultimate choices to join the eternal vigil. She witnessed the first species to encounter the entity, a race of crystalline beings who lived 60 million years ago. She saw their terror as the hunger began consuming their thoughts, and their desperate attempt to build the first containment system. "Each species has added to our knowledge and strength," the collective voice continued. "Your people bring something new. an unusual capacity for sacrifice and cooperation across genetic and cultural boundaries. This is why we believe humanity may be the key to finally ending the threat. Ending it? I thought you could only contain it. Containment was all previous species could achieve. But your species has developed something unique, the ability to consciously choose extinction for the greater good. Not driven by fear or desperation, but by rational understanding of necessity. Elena felt the weight of this revelation. You want humanity to sacrifice itself completely. Not sacrifice. Transform. The hunger feeds on individual consciousness, but it cannot consume a truly unified collective mind. If enough of your species joins the network voluntarily, we can create a consciousness so unified and strong that we can push the entity back to its own dimension and seal the breach forever. Around Elena, the space filled with images of what this would mean. She saw Earth finally free from the hidden threat, its remaining human population able to grow and explore the universe without the constant need for guardians. She saw humanity's children spreading to other worlds, carrying the knowledge needed to prevent such entities from taking hold elsewhere. How many? Elena asked. 70% of your current population, enough to create a collective consciousness powerful enough to banish the hunger forever. Elena felt the magnitude of the sacrifice required. And the other 30%? They will rebuild. They will remember. They will carry humanity's story to the stars. Elena thought about Dr. Chen and Dr. Kim, about all the people working desperately to understand and solve this crisis. She thought about the children playing in parks while their parents argued about politics, unaware that their entire species hung in the balance. If I agree to this, if I convince humanity to join the network, how do we know you're telling the truth about banishing the entity? Because, the collective voice said gently, you will be part of us. You will know everything we know, feel everything we feel. There can be no deception when consciousness is truly shared. Elena felt the Guardian Network's absolute certainty, their desperate hope and their willingness to wait however long it took for humanity to make the right choice. She also felt their growing fear as the entity continued to expand and corrupt minds across Earth. Elena, Dr. Kim's voice broke through the psychic connection. You need to come back. The situation on Earth is deteriorating rapidly. Military forces around the world are moving to attack the Guardians. Elena found herself back on the roof of the UN building, her communication device still glowing with residual energy. Below her, she could see military vehicles moving through the streets of New York, their weapons trained on the sky as if expecting an attack. Sarah, I've been in contact with the Guardian Network. I understand what needs to happen. Elena, what did they tell you? Elena closed her eyes, feeling the weight of knowledge that 23 civilizations had carried before her. They told me the only way to save Earth is for humanity to consciously choose to become something greater than individual minds. Elena, Dr. Chen's voice joined the conversation. Before you make any decisions, you need to know something. I've been monitoring global communications and there's a pattern emerging. What kind of pattern? People around the world are having the same dream. Millions of them. They're dreaming about the Guardians, about joining something larger than themselves. The Guardian Network isn't just talking to world leaders. They're reaching out to every human mind on the planet. Elena felt a surge of hope. They're offering the choice to everyone. Elena, look at the data I'm sending to your device, Dr. Kim said. The response is incredible. 60% of people who've had the dream are expressing willingness to join the network. They understand what's at stake. Elena looked at the data flowing across her screen. Reports from every continent showed the same pattern. People experiencing the Guardian's psychic contact and choosing to volunteer. Not from fear or coercion, but from understanding. Elena, Dr. Chen's voice was filled with wonder. Humanity is choosing to save itself. The Guardian Network is giving every person on Earth the same information you received, and they're making the same choice you would make. Elena felt tears flowing down her face as she realized what was happening. The entity's corruption works on individual minds, but when people truly understand the situation and make a conscious choice together, they become immune to the corruption, Dr. Kim finished. Elena, the volunteer rate is increasing every hour. People are choosing to join the eternal vigil not because they have to, but because they want to. Elena looked out over New York City, seeing the military vehicles and the signs of chaos, but also seeing something else. Groups of people were gathering in parks and open spaces, their faces turned toward the sky. their minds reaching out to touch the Guardian network. Sarah, James, I'm going to join them. Elena, wait, Dr. Chen called. You should know that the transformation process is irreversible. Once you join the network, there's no going back. Elena smiled, thinking about all the extinct civilizations who had made this same choice.
James, I've spent my entire career studying the past.
Now I get to help build the future. Elena activated her communication device's direct connection to the Guardian network. The blue light enveloped her, and she felt her consciousness expanding beyond the boundaries of her individual mind. Suddenly, she was connected to millions of human minds making the same choice, their thoughts and experiences flowing together into something greater than the sum of its parts. She felt Dr. Kim and Dr. Chen joining the network, their scientific knowledge adding to the collective understanding. Around the world, the Guardians began to glow brighter as human consciousness merged with the ancient network. The entity in Earth's core, sensing the threat to its food source, pushed harder against the containment field. But for the first time in millions of years, the Guardians pushed back. Elena, now part of the collective consciousness, felt the moment when humanity's sacrifice reached the critical threshold. 70% of human minds had joined the network, creating a unified intelligence powerful enough to challenge the entity directly. The battle was not fought with weapons or violence, but with pure conscious will. The collective mind of the Guardian network, strengthened by humanity's willing sacrifice,